we welcome you today. We welcome Ms. Linnet Carty.
Yeah, I was sitting in your shoes just about 5 years, well, okay, 10 years, 20 years ago. Hey, 20 years ago I was sitting in your shoes, and I was sitting back then as I reflect. I love food so much. Gained some weight over the years. Food is my favorite thing. It's the one thing I think that brings all people together, right? I see somebody clapping like, yeah! I used to be a size 7, but they permanently retired my number. So I refer to myself as being more so fluffy than fat. And fluffy is good because I can still eat fat. Please join me in thanking my personal friend who asked me to be here, Rosalina, and those who put your hands together. Rosalina and I used to work together, and then she got a better job, made a lot more money. She's gone now. But we still keep in touch. And she was sharing with me a cute story this morning about when she has this new convertible. And her 16-year-old son, he wants to drive. Every day he's like, Mom, can I drive? Mom, can I drive? Mom, can I drive? Mom, can I drive? And so finally she says to him, you know, you gotta do some things for me. First of all, you're gonna have to get your grades up. Second of all, you really haven't been going to church with us. You haven't been studying the Bible. And third of all, you need to cut that hair. It's just way too long. You gotta clean your look up. So about 3 months later, he comes back to Mom and he's like, look at my report card, Mom. I got all A's. He said, plus you see, I've been going to church, I've been studying the Bible at night. Can I drive now? Can I drive now? Can I drive now? And she's like, but the hair, what's up with the long hair? You haven't cleaned up that look yet. And he says, well, Mom, how do you know? Moses had long hair. Noah had long hair. Even Jesus had long hair. And Rosalina said, I know, and they walked everywhere they went. Now they told me to be brief. So, what, I have to return? But I hope to share a little bit about me today, a little bit about some of my, what I call triumphs, but some of my tough times with you. And I really want to share about how you can envision yourself in the future. But first, we could, I know this is off topic, but I just have to because I'm so into my heart. We have to clap for Judge Sonia Sotomayor. There once was a cat that was chasing a mouse, and that mouse very narrowly escaped into a tiny little hole in the wall. And the little heart was just beating. He's saying to himself, I'm just going to stay here, and I'm just going to wait until that cat leaves. And after about 10 minutes, that mouse heard. The mouse figured, there's a dog out there. I just barely missed that cat, but I know I can beat a dog. So now is my time to run. And that mouse ran out of that hole, ran right into the mouth of the cat. And after the cat ate the mouse and licked her paws, she said, how wonderful it is to be bilingual. So with that, I'm Jamaican. I like to call myself Jamaican. My mother is from Cuba. My papi is from Jamaica, and they both came to this country to make a better life for me and my little brothers. And every time I shovel snow, I still try to figure out how both of my parents left beautiful islands to come to America when Americans worked their entire life to go retire on beautiful islands like where our parents come from. Go backwards, isn't it? I remember asking my mother one day, how did we get here? And Mom said, well, when your Uncle Tata, his real name is Uncle Linnet, but we call him Uncle Tata, when he left Cuba, he came with a group of his friends, and he was the only one that spoke both Spanish and English. They all got hired for the same company, and they made him the manager because he was the only one who was bilingual. 6 months later, he sponsored my parents to come to America. So that's how we got here. So when I think about it, it's like, okay, we're in America because Uncle Tata got a good job. I have what you would call typical Caribbean parents, very strong-minded, religious. They are big on discipline, loving and funny. They believe that education is everything. And then, of course, you're going to get married, you're going to have babies. And from my mom, I heard, you're going to college, you're going to graduate school, and then you're going to be whatever it is you want to be. And from my papi, I heard, if it's not school, then it's foolishness that. Just in the saying, it's foolishness that. I lost my mom not long ago, this past December, and I miss her dearly. And she and my father were together for 57 years, but married for 52, and that just seems like an eternity, doesn't it? And I don't know why they waited 30 years before they had me. My mamita was very funny in her own way. She never called any of my friends by their name, but instead by what she most remembered about them. And that would happen for you in the business world. My mother would say, your chatty friend, she's on the phone. Your chubby friend, she called you. Your friend, she don't have no manners, she leave a message. So that friend that had no manners, I knew I needed to warn her, because she would call my house and just go, can I speak to Linnet? You know, if you come from Latino parents, you must engage our parents. Hello, how are you? Is Linnet home? So I tried to tell her, this is the way you want to approach my parents. So the next time she calls, here's my mother. Your friend, she don't have no manners. She tried to have manners today, she's on the phone. My mom was amazing. She designed clothes. She was an artist and a fabulous cook. And I grew up eating everything from breadfruit to bacalao, maduro and mangoes, ceviche, cassava, arroz con pollo, and yes, a little rum too. We spoke both Spanish and Jamaican patois in the house, and my father was adamant that we learned what he called the King's English. He made sure that we could go toe-to-toe with our American classmates. We treasure our culture, and we really loved having to translate and explain our exotic foods and our traditions to our American friends. You see, my parents were both gifted with premonition. They always seemed to know what was going to happen when they got home, especially if we were bad. And I was the oldest of three, so I got spanked the most. Who's the oldest? Raise your hand. Who's the oldest child? You know what it's like. You know what it's like. And I didn't get abused, but clearly I got disciplined. You know those kind of spankings where they kind of spank you into silence? It's like, ah, ah. That only happened once. probably the greatest because we're our parents' first chance at being a parent. And, you know, we got all the new clothes, we got no hand-me-downs. We got the most pictures, right? We got the most pictures taken of you. Look at the big IKD, don't keep reading in and out pictures of anything. We got the sterilized pacifier. You know what I'm talking about, right? Pacifier falls and your mom boils it. Second baby, she just runs it underwater. Third baby, she just sticks it in her own mouth. Fourth, fifth, sixth kids out there, boy, I feel sorry for you guys, because she's just picking off the big stuff. How many of you ladies out there love sports? Clap if you love sports. Nah, clap if you love it, because guys love it. I'm a sheepball lover, and there is nothing like having a group coming together, working for a common goal. And the element of winning makes it all the more exciting, and that translates to business as well. You see, I love sports. I only know a little bit about it, but I know I love my football. And my favorite team is the New Orleans Saints. They're at 9-0. Wow! Who talks for my Saints? Who that? Who that? This is a team that for many years was on the bottom, have always been on the bottom, so I'm just elated about that. And guys, who watches football? Guys, clap if you watch football. You know what I'm talking about. When I say on the rollout and the scramble and even the rush, the Rams tried to blitz, but even they couldn't touch my Saints. Couldn't touch them. My mom loved sports as well, basketball, soccer, cricket, and especially pelota basque, more commonly called highlight. You see, my grandfather played pelota basque in Cuba, and so my mother grew up loving it. As for the American sports, she really loved basketball, but she hated the way some kids never got into the game. She would always comment, but don't I go with you on the bench all the time, they don't get into the game. So when I took her to her first Saints football game, after watching it for about 15 minutes, my mom said, you know, I really like this, because they're giving everybody a chance to play. And you guys know, they're not giving everybody a chance to play. That's offense, defense, special teams, running back and forth. But that was my mom. She wanted everybody to have an equal chance. When I was your age, I had some crazy dreams back then. I used to write at night in my journal about wanting to be a flight attendant and travel the world, about wanting to be an educator, because I had a couple of teachers that really made a difference in my life, and to be an actress. I was good in math and social studies, English, and lunch. But I wasn't so good in science. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that all of those things that I thought were my crazy dreams, things that I thought I would probably never achieve, that I actually did. You see, I grew up in a neighborhood where there was only one other Latino family and only 2 other families of color. And how I lived for the weekends when we would visit our cousins either in Springfield or in New York. And we were just immersed in us, in our food, in our culture, in our dance. We grew up very sheltered, but every now and then my mother would try to fix us an American meal. I remember going to New York one time, we went for a family celebration. My father said, we're going to go to this Italian restaurant. And so we ordered the spaghetti and meatballs, and it comes and my mother says, you know, that's a really good idea. My father had to say, no, your spaghetti and hot dogs, Mama, that's the good idea. Their spaghetti and meatballs is a tradition. I didn't know about broccoli and cauliflower until I went to college. And that's also the first place I had my taste of macaroni and cheese. I love it to this day. As you can see, I'm wearing slippers. It's made from the blue tall craft box on a hot plate in my dorm room. And I still love it to this day. I remember coming home for Thanksgiving and fixing it for the whole family, and everybody loved it. But it was still no match for penne y arroz con gandules. But it wasn't all good. You see, I faced many challenges along the way. The hard stuff, I can't even talk about up here because it'll make me cry. But I'll share with you a little bit. I attended Catholic schools that only had a few or no other students that looked like me. I had no teachers of color until my junior year of high school. I've been ignored, underestimated, overlooked, and was met with a look of low expectations from numerous educators. I was teased all the time for being too tall, for being too light, for being too dark. But that just made me the strong negative that I am. I've been called every name in the book, to my face, and I'm sure behind my back. Spick, half-breed, mongrel, immigrant, mutt, witch eyes, yellow, sand nigger, and nicotine. Sometimes I cried, but most often I let it roll off my back. I was very independent when I was your age. I was eager to learn, and I didn't want any special treatment. I only wanted things if I earned them, and I deserved them. From jobs to parts and plays. And I've been working since I've been 16 years old. From McDonald's to a ladies' dress shop, to Genevieve's drugstore, to Hardee's, and to delivering pizza while I was in college. I knew early on that I loved meeting new people, especially the guys. And that my career would take me to the public sector, doing something to help people. So I attended the University of Connecticut. It was my first time living away from home. As in any student, it was an adjustment time for me. I did well in school, but now as I look back, I could have done so much better. I have lots of good memories from my times at UConn. Professor Barber, who's been here for 40 years, asked me, he said, "Is this your first time at Southern?" And I was so embarrassed because I was like, "No, it's my second time." My first time was while I was at UConn and we came to a crazy party here. That was actually my first time. I don't remember it well, but it was fun. And so yeah, I got into trouble and probably attended one too many cake parties, but it made me the person that I am today. So I decided I would major in political science and English. And back in those days, political science classes were filled with only men. How I love that. But my professors gave me such a hard time. There just weren't a lot of women that were getting their degrees in political science. But that just made me more determined to succeed. I believe I was only the second woman of color to graduate from the University of Connecticut with a degree in political science. But I was UConn's first black team cheerleader. While in school, my roommate and I had planned to graduate early and surprise our parents. And we did that, but we wanted to travel, and we had no money. We were thousands of dollars in debt. So she was determined. She said, "I'm going to send away to the airlines and get some applications," because there was no internet back then. And Delta Airlines just happened to send back 2, and she gave me one. And I applied. And boy, was I happy when I got that letter to come for an interview, even though I knew my parents weren't going to like it. I went to Atlanta, and basically that was my first professional interview. What an interview it was. There were 100 girls and 4 guys, and I was one of the last people to get interviewed. And I remember walking into that office and being very nervous, but I sat down, and she started firing questions at me. And I remember just one question. Why do you want to be a flight attendant? And I remember thinking to myself, I know my parents aren't going to let me, so I'm just going to say anything. I said, because my mama said that's the closest I'm ever going to get to God. But then I followed up very quickly with, because I know that there are thousands of cultures around the globe, and I want to experience as many as I can before I die. It's about 3 weeks later, I got the letter of congratulations. It was fabulous. My parents weren't very happy with me. My father just kept saying, "Do you hear me?" I say, "You're going back to school. We don't want to hear none of that foolishness. You're going back to school." And my mother was really upset. You know, she just kept saying, "Your father and I, we come to this country, we work so hard to put you to college. All you want to be is a sky hostess." All day long, I'm saying, "Sky hostess? That's all you want to be?" So I tried to explain to them the opportunities that it would provide for me. And I promised them that I would go back to school. And then I told them, you guys will be able to fly wherever you want to go for free. My mom was like, oh my daughter, she's a Sky Plus. Being a flight attendant afforded me a unique educational opportunity to meet thousands, visit numerous countries, and eat millions of different types of foods. I've lived all over the country: Boston, Miami, New Orleans, Dallas, Philly, and Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is why I know I'm going to heaven. And I spent most of my flight years in Europe, Mexico, and Puerto Rico. First love. So my first love is from Mi Corazon. He's from Bayamón, no Bayamón. He's still there. And my two other pals, one that is from Caguas and the other from San Juan, and Puerto Rico. I learned that people from all over the world speak more than one language. Only here in America are people monolingual and think like English is it. And it is so not it. And there was nothing better than hearing Spanish spoken by people with different accents. I loved it. On my very first trip to Puerto Rico, I went down to the crew lounge to meet the flight attendants, and one girl came over and she said, my name is Mary Lou Childress. I'm the A-line on the trip. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, and I'll be doing the takeoff PA. You are? You speak Spanish? And she said, sí. It's like, okay. And there she was with her southern drawl, welcoming people on board. Buenos dias, damas y caballeros. Like, wow, wow. And then a couple years later, I met two men from Japan, and all they spoke was Japanese and Spanish. And it's amazing to hear Spanish spoken with a Japanese accent. They go up to ask me, would you like a drink? Oh, ¿cómo están? ¿Quiero una bebida? Sí, yo quiero una bebida! Yay! So I had some fun during my flight years, but a couple of big things happened. The first for me was about 5 years after I had been flying. I had a passenger pull me over and say, do you remember me? And I felt bad because I didn't remember her. I said, no, I feel bad. I remember your face, but I don't remember your name. But I do remember her. And she said, I hired you. And I was like, wow, you remembered me? She said, yeah. So why did you hire me? She said, because you were funny, you were smart, but mostly because you were bilingual. Just like my Uncle Todd. Just like my Uncle Todd. It's great. The best thing that happened to me, though, during my flight years was that I met my future husband on the plane. Yeah, he was who my friend and I called the jerk in 30C. Because he had gone to the bathroom and smoked a cigarette and set off the fire alarm in the lab. He was a cute lady, so yes, I married him. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and 7 years later I divorced and I moved back home to the bosom of my parents. And yes, I went back to school. I received my MBA from Western New England College of Massachusetts with a focus in marketing and management, and marketing is clearly my passion. I remember when I got home, my mom said, see, when your father and I pay for school, you get A's and B's. When you pay for school, you get all A's. How come is that? But during that time, I was faced with probably one of my biggest challenges. I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And if you don't know, it's the most debilitating form of arthritis. And the disease was full-blown by the time I was diagnosed. And so I kind of just retreated into myself. Not to mention that the medication that they put me on put 80 unanswered pounds on me. And I was walking with a cane. It wasn't until a really good friend came and pulled me out to attend an art show. It was probably the first time in about 4 months that I actually left my house to do something social. And at that art show, I met a gentleman who was filming there named Frank Butash. And Frank commented on the hand-beating top that I was wearing, because that's what I was doing with my spirituality. spare time, just sitting at home and sewing. And he said, "How beautiful that is. Would you like to come on my television show with some of your models?" I was too embarrassed to tell him, "I don't have no models." I said, "Yes, I'll be there." So I showed up that following week with my mother and my sister. Those were my models. And he got quite a good response. And about 2 weeks later, he called me and asked me if I would sit in as a guest co-host on his show while his co-host was on vacation. You knew I wasn't going to say no. I was like, "Yes, I'll be there." And I showed up, and it was just a monumental time for me in my life. And it changed me dramatically. And I think I found for the first time something that made me happy that I could also make money at. And she came back from her vacation to co-host, and he paid out her contract, and he kept me. How awesome is that? That was a change in my life. So that's how I got my start in television, something that I never, ever, ever thought that I would really do. After co-hosting for late night, I started my own program, Capital View on Cable Channel 5. And then not long after that, I got a call from Harold Goldberg at the Hartford Courant, who asked me to come and write for the Latino, Caribbean, and African American communities. During that same time, I did an internship with NBC 30, and I didn't want to do news, because news is just really too sad. So I ended up doing sports, and I had the opportunity to work with Beasley Reese, who's a former football player and now a sportscaster. There weren't very many women in sports at that time, so I actually gravitated towards the public affairs programming. So I ended up hosting and producing NBC's public affairs programs until they wrapped us into the 11 o'clock show, which comes out now on NBC this past June. So the experience and exposure and opportunity to bring our community issues to the forefront was priceless for me. I got to cover and produce the things that I knew our community was interested in. Not that these were my full-time jobs. Note that during that time, my full-time job was teaching in Hartford Public Schools, at Sand Everywhere School, at Betances, at Kinsella. Later, I worked as a Family Resource Center director, located in Hartford Public Schools. Even though I'm West Indian, you know there's more than one job, right? I had the chance to work with students and families, and we provided wonderful programming for all of them, both adult educational programs like GED, ABE, and ESL, and both positive youth enrichment programs like tap and ballet, which I taught myself, and arts and crafts, and karate, and chess club, and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and things of that nature. But, as life will have it, whereas when you think everything's going great, I got laid off very unexpectedly, and I was devastated. But I thought, I've got my degrees, there'll be no problem for me to find another job. Well, how wrong I was. It was really tough to find another job. Everything now had changed. You see, you couldn't go from business to business and present yourself. Now, everything's done on the internet. And personally, I think I look better in person than I do on paper. And so that's what you've got to think about. You've got to make sure that just how good you look here, you look good on paper. So after 6 months of looking for a job and only having a handful of interviews, no callbacks, one evening on the way home from New York, I had the newspaper. And they were looking for a West Indian comic. And I'm not a comic by any means, but I certainly grew up with a crazy West Indian father. And I knew I could put together 3 minutes of material. And so I did, and I went to this audition, and I ended up getting picked to do Paymon. It was an incredible experience for me, especially since the people that I did the show with were all professional comics. All of them asked me, who are you? Where are you from? We've never seen you on BET, because they'd all been on BET or on Showtime or on HBO. So don't let people intimidate you. I say that to tell you, you know you've got it. Don't let anybody intimidate you. I was a little bit intimidated, but I didn't let it stop me. Thank you. Don't let you guys, I'm serious, because I know that there's some brainies out there. I don't want you to let other people intimidate you. That is probably one of the most important messages that I can tell you today. If you know you've got it, if you know you're good at it, keep going, and don't let anybody deter you. So the acting bug had bitten me, and I do mean it had bitten me, and I was hanging on to it like it was Mario Lopez. Not long after I participated in another audition for the Wendy Williams movie, and that was a 9-state audition with thousands of people, and I got picked to be one of the 7 to be in her movie, and that's coming out next year, so don't watch me clap. You better not blink, because if you blink, you're gonna miss me. I play Wendy's housekeeper in the movie when Wendy was young, and it's supposed to come out in 2010. Who knows who Wendy Williams is? Anybody? Yes, she's a radio shock jock. She now has her own TV show, and she's doing really, really well. So on the side, I'm writing commercials now, and I'm finding that I really love that. I really love thinking about marketing strategies in a different way. Ladies, who has GPS? Who's driving in here? Everybody driving in here? GPS is like the newest thing out, and I love mine. You know, it has the different voices. I have mine set to the British voice. Get 400 meters and then make a right turn. Go another yard, in 200 yards, make a left turn. What you should really say is, cute guy, 2 cars up in the center lane. Police officer hiding in the bushes. I need my GPS instead. So what was great about all of these things is that it offered me a chance to write, which is my heart. I got a chance to act, which is my passion. And I love to cover events, which brings me to new places, and I get to meet exciting people. Plus, it prepared me to take my skills elsewhere. I've covered everything from Super Bowls to Highlight to the Bayou Classic, to the Pilot Pen tennis tournament, the PGA golf, and no, I don't like quiet sports, and the Subway series, the film festivals, concerts, celebrity parties, and so on. I even covered the Olympics in Barcelona, Spain. I've emceed a lot of things. I've had a chance to do pageants and mayoral debates and the State Troopers Ball, which was great because it gets me out of tickets. And MTV. When MTV came to town, I was asked to do Bjorn's Party. We saw that episode. Devo, the first guy who had dreads. Did anybody see that episode? Nice. And what was really sweet was not only did I get a chance to MC it, he had a fashion show as part of his show. And those were my tops that I made 15 years earlier. See how things come back around and you never know it. So now my full-time job is with the State Education Resource Center, more commonly called SERP. And I work in diversity. SERP is definitely committed to equity, excellence in education, and that is truly my passion. Because for students of color, especially in Connecticut, we aren't making grade. We just aren't making grade. And so people will ask me often, well, what do you do in diversity? And it usually takes me about 10 minutes to explain it. But my 5-year-old nephew, after asking me, and I told him, and he's 5, he just stood there listening the whole time. And then when I was done, he said, oh, so you tell people not to yuck other people's yum. I was like, yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. I also produce DVDs for the State Education Resource Center, and so it's a wonderful combination for me because I get to work across initiatives, and there's nothing better unless it's a $5 foot long. It's just sweet. So I've just started a new show, the Linnet and India show, and that's with one of my friends who used to produce at NBC3 with me. And so please keep us in your prayers. We've done 4 shows and we've got a really good response and we're very, very excited. So please, I encourage you to find your passion. What is it that you love to do? How can you start doing it now, even if you don't get paid to do it? Oftentimes, experience trumps money, and I know you'll make money later. How can you work now with the top people in the field that you want to go into? Can you get an internship there? Even if they don't have one, be the first person to start one. You'll get the book stuff, but the most important piece is going from theory to practice. So here are some things that I learned along the way. And so I want you to think about how you can envision your future self. You must take charge of your attitude and don't let someone else choose it for you. Take care of your reputation. It's your most valuable asset. Have respect for self, respect for others, and take responsibility for your actions. Be prepared, because you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. Start today by branding yourself. Be honest, be loyal, and be your own person. Have the courage to make tough decisions, especially when it means that you might be standing alone. History. Learn it, reflect on it. Know that everything in life, whether it's good or bad, is a learning experience. Strive for excellence, not perfection. Do what you need to do, not what you're supposed to do. Dream big, think globally. And it's not all about the grades and test scores. It's about you and your community and your service to our community. Do more than what's expected of you. It'll always keep the edge. Hold on to our language and learn other languages. It's a valuable asset, and it can be the tipping point when it comes to you or someone else getting a position. Roll in education. Wallow in it. Dig deep and find what you like and what you're good at. Learn about it. Practice it. And become great at it. And if it's the perfect thing for you, you'll make money at it. And it won't be like work. Never, ever say never. Because you don't know what's going to happen. So never say never. When my parents came to this country and my mother saw all those women in New York getting off the planes with mink coats, she turned to my father. She said, "You know, one day you're going to buy me a new coat, 5th anniversary, 10th anniversary." And my father, being the frugal man he was, said, "Listen, and I'm going to buy you no mink coat. But I tell you what, we'll buy it for you if man go to the room." Mom got her mink coat. So never say never. Be ready for the interview and for the biggest intersections in your life. The intersection where preparation meets opportunity. You must be ready, and the time to get ready is now. I'm depending on each and every one of you guys to take care of me and help me when I'm old. From banking to insurance to businesses, I expect to see all your faces. Have fun in all you do. You'll be happy when you make someone else. And never underestimate the power of a kind word or deed. From my mother, she would just say 2 things. Know that no matter where you go, manners will take you through this world. And be careful not to miss a really good thing in life just because it's not wrapped in the package you expect it to be in. I'm dating a crazy white guy right now. Personally, I never really thought that I would be dating across racial lines. He's fabulous. He's going to learn Spanish behind my back. The other day, I went to grab the remote, and he hollered out, "No camera, pasión, yo esperando para sábado gigante." Okay. Don't let hard times discourage you. I know a lot of people in this room really, really tough times. And it makes me think of being like an oyster. Because you know what oysters do, right? They produce pearls. But did you know only the damaged ones produce pearls? The ones that are perfect don't. Work hard. Like the 2 little mice that fell in the vat of cream. And they were swimming for their life. And after about 2 hours, one of them just gave up and drowned. When the other ones went faster and harder and faster and harder and faster and harder until he whipped that cream into butter and walked out. That's how you want to be. Find your own niche and find it in several areas. Don't think job, think career. Something that will be long-lasting and always be able to diversify your talents. Learn to listen. Opportunity sometimes knocks very softly. And lastly, live your life so that you're remembered not for what you've got, but for what you gave. Thank you very much.